Donald Trump is on Capitol Hill today, where he's going to meet with House and Senate Republicans. It is all part of an effort by the presumptive nominee to unite the party ahead of a national convention that is now just 11 days away.
But while some of Trump's fellow Republicans are doing their best to keep Hillary Clinton's email controversy in the spotlight, Trump himself seems to be dwelling on something else. Major Garrett reports.
When they told me the Star of David, I said, you gotta be kidding.
Instead of staying focused on Hillary Clinton's troubles with the FBI, Donald Trump spoke about his own controversies at a rally in Ohio.
It's a star. Have you all seen this? It's a star.
It is a star, this one, on a Trump tweet swiftly deleted. The Anti-Defamation League called it anti-Semitic. House Speaker Paul Ryan and Ben Carson, both Trump endorsers, called it out of bounds. And Trump called the critics racists.
So actually, they're racially profiling. They're profiling, not us. Because why are they bringing this up? Why do they bring it up?
Trump kept up his attacks on Twitter, comparing the image on his original tweet to one on the cover of a Disney sticker book. A writer for the New York Observer, owned by Trump's Jewish son-in-law, Jared Kushner, wrote an open letter Tuesday condemning what she called Trump's anti-Semitism, writing, "This hate is directed to one of your employees." Kushner responded with an op-ed yesterday proclaiming, "My father-in-law is not an anti-Semite."
By the way, and how about the 33,000 emails that were wiped out? 33,000!
Trump spent an early part of his speech hitting Hillary Clinton on her emails, but it wasn't long before he returned to his unscripted, off-the-wall dialogue.
And I don't love Saddam Hussein. I hate Saddam Hussein. But he was damn good at killing terrorists. Speaking of mosquitoes, hello, Hillary. How are you doing? Women are liking me a lot lately. When people treat you unfairly, just turn your back and go someplace else. Or knock them on their ass, one or the other.
And Major Garrett is on Capitol Hill, where Donald Trump, as we've been saying, is meeting with House and Senate Republicans today. Major, set the scene for us there. How does this compare to Trump's high-profile meeting with Paul Ryan back in May?
Well, that was about getting Paul Ryan's endorsement. That's happened, and House Republicans, Senate Republicans are resigned to the fact that Trump is going to be their presumptive nominee. They're meeting with him here at the Capitol Hill Club. That's where House Republicans retreat from the Capitol to engage in political conversation. Ivanka Trump is with Donald Trump, and they're trying to sort out what's ahead. Who might the running mate be for Donald Trump, and what's the campaign going to look like heading into the convention, and what that convention itself may look like. I can tell you one fact about that convention. Far fewer Republicans will be attending it than normally, because many are boycotting the convention or saying, as a protective measure, not much about Donald Trump, but that they support the Republican Party. And even if they are there, I've talked to several House Republicans who won't be attending a lot of the floor activities, but be in Cleveland generally to support the Republican Party. So distance still being put between some House Republicans and Donald Trump, even though they all know he is now the presumptive nominee and will be their nominee whether they like it or not.
I can tell you one more thing about the convention. There are probably going to be protesters there, and I think there are a few protesters where you are too.
Yes, here on Capitol Hill, Donald Trump attracts curiosity seekers, tourists. It's the tourist time of season here at time of year here in Washington, and a good number of protesters protesting Trump's approach to many issues, racially tinged from the protesters' point of view. That was true when Trump came here to see Paul Ryan and the House Republicans. I'm sure it'll be the case when he crosses over the Capitol to see Senate Republicans. That is part and parcel of the Donald Trump presidential campaign experience. Curiosity seekers, those who like Donald Trump, and those who vociferously protest against him.
Major, I saw a headline in the Wall Street Journal. Anti-Donald Trump forces see convention coup as within reach. Help me understand, help our viewers understand what that is all about.
Well, they see something that may not be visible plainly to others who are counting up the delegates. What they see is a number of absolutely locked, solid, pledged, committed, out front delegates for Donald Trump. About 980, according to the current count, of a guy named Randy Evans, who is a well-connected member of the Republican National Committee's Rules Committee and a pretty good nose counter when it comes to delegates. Then there are about 600 or so who are not necessarily publicly aligned. And the never Trump forces say, hey, we could get all of those. Very, very unlikely. every indication I've gotten from the Trump campaign and those who are close to the Never Trump movement is the numbers aren't nearly as close as the Never Trump forces would like to believe. And in all likelihood, not only will Trump be the nominee, it will be done relatively quickly, and there may not even be the votes on the Rules Committee, which is a subsection of the Republican National Committee that convenes in Cleveland to put together any kind of minority report objecting to Donald Trump. So Trump is in all likelihood going to A, be the nominee, and be so by a very large margin, a comfortable margin, and those who oppose Trump may not get very much camera time or ability to vocally protest that decision.
That being said, there are a few pretty high-profile Republicans that are not showing up. Senators McCain, Ayotte, Rubio. What's the message there?
That this is inevitable, it's unstoppable, but it's not necessarily something that those particular senators are altogether comfortable with. What is consistent about all three? All running for re-election. John McCain in Arizona, Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire, Marco Rubio now back in the race in Florida after saying he wasn't going to seek re-election and concentrate on his presidential campaign, which of course came up very short, conspicuously so when he lost the Florida primary to Donald Trump by a very wide margin. Marco Rubio is now back in that race and running for re-election. So anyone who is a Republican Senate candidate running for re-election is going to tread very lightly about Donald Trump, the convention, and their proximity to Trump, because it's likely to be an issue in their own re-election campaign. And those who give Trump a wide berth are signaling for their own political future they need to be farther away from Trump than closer to him.
Major Sean Spicer, who's the communications director for the RNC, just tweeted out about 4 minutes ago that there is a packed house with Donald Trump meeting with the GOP conference. But I wonder, Major, in Trump's speech yesterday, where he seemed to, again, go back to that six-pointed star issue, he then talked again about Saddam Hussein and how he killed terrorists, where most people and most countries would say, including the United States, that Saddam was a state sponsor of terrorism. Are there just a lot of face palms to the head with the GOP right now?
A lot of what, Vlad? What was that last part?
People just sort of shaking their heads and saying this is going to be an uphill battle.
Well, certainly that's one of the fears that Republicans have, but they also look at the polls, which show at the state level and the national level that this race remains competitive, despite all of the things that on a day-to-day basis give Republicans pause, anxiety, concern, heartburn, put in your adjective. Trump is still running competitively with Hillary Clinton, in part because Hillary Clinton herself has a sizable number of conspicuous political problems, among them trustworthiness and believability, credibility to become commander-in-chief. So Trump is still in this race. I know a couple of House Republicans I've spoken to this morning via text message who are not Trump supporters, don't want to be Trump supporters, but they're here anyway. Why? Because they want to hear him out, listen to what he has to say, and get some sense of what the future of the next couple of weeks might hold for them and their party. Because even if you're not a Trump endorser or a Trump supporter, you are a Republican. And you know your party's fate in the short term is tied to whatever Donald Trump does or doesn't do, and if he's effective or not. And if by some work out of this campaign becomes the President of the United States, you're going to have to deal with that reality legislatively and in lots of other ways. So even those House Republicans who are not on board with Trump, many are here because they're trying to find out where Trump is, where the campaign's going, and how they should react.
All right, Major Garrett on Capitol Hill for us today. Thank you, Major.
Sure.